Right now, this very second, a volcanic mountain in the heart of the Philippines is venting fury. A 4,000-meter ash plume. Pyroclastic flows racing down slopes at hundreds of miles per hour, and thousands of families running for their lives as emergency sirens wail across entire provinces. This is Mount Kanlaon, one of the most dangerous and unpredictable volcanoes in the Pacific Ring of Fire. And early this morning, it erupted with explosive force. Alert Level 3, Magmatic unrest, mandatory evacuations underway. The threat is immediate, the danger is escalating, and no one knows if this is just the beginning. In the early morning hours of November 28, 2025, Mount Kanlaon, a towering stratovolcano straddling Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental provinces in the central Philippines, detonated in a violent explosive eruption. The blast sent a massive column of volcanic ash surging 4,000 meters. That's over 13,000 feet into the atmosphere. Satellite imagery captured the plume spreading across the island, carried by prevailing winds, blanketing entire communities in toxic gray fallout. But the ash wasn't the worst of it. Witnesses on the ground reported pyroclastic flows, superheated avalanches of gas, rock, and volcanic debris, screaming down the southern slopes at lethal speeds. These flows can reach temperatures exceeding 700 degrees Celsius, hot enough to incinerate anything in their path. And they were heading straight toward populated areas. Within hours, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, PHIVOLCS, made the call. Alert Level 3, Magmatic unrest. The official classification that means one thing: a hazardous explosive eruption is likely. Not possible, not probable, likely. And with that declaration came immediate mandatory evacuation orders for everyone living within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone surrounding Kanlaon's summit. Thousands of residents, families who had been living under the threat of eruption for months, were now fleeing. Roads clogged with vehicles, emergency shelters opening across Negros Island. Children crying, homes abandoned, livestock left behind, and the volcano still rumbling. Still venting, still building pressure. But here's what makes this truly alarming. Mount Kanlaon isn't just any volcano. It's one of the most active and volatile peaks in the entire Philippine archipelago, a country that sits squarely on the Pacific Ring of Fire, home to over 75% of the world's active volcanoes. And Kanlaon has earned its reputation through centuries of violent, unpredictable eruptions. What happened on November 28th is what volcanologists call a Vulcanian-style explosive eruption. This type of eruption occurs when highly viscous magma, thick, sticky molten rock rich in silica, traps massive amounts of volcanic gases beneath the surface. Pressure builds and builds and builds until the system can't contain it anymore. Then it explodes. The result is catastrophic. The eruption blasts fragmented rock, ash, and gas vertically into the atmosphere at supersonic speeds. The ash column, in Kanlaon's case, 4 kilometers high, creates its own weather system, generating lightning, downdrafts, and pyroclastic density currents that collapse back down the mountainside like an avalanche of fire. And those pyroclastic flows are the true killers. Imagine a ground-hugging cloud of pulverized rock, ash, and gas heated to over 700 degrees Celsius, racing downhill at speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. Nothing survives contact. Buildings are obliterated. Vegetation is instantly incinerated. Anyone caught in the flow dies within seconds, not from the impact, but from the superheated gases searing their lungs from the inside out. PHIVOLCS monitoring stations around Kanlaon have been recording the warning signs for months. Elevated seismicity, hundreds of volcanic earthquakes. Ground deformation as magma pushes upward from depth. Increased sulfur dioxide emissions venting from the summit crater, all classic precursors to a major eruption. And on November 28th, the mountain finally let go. But the science gets worse, because this isn't an isolated event. Kanlaon has been restless since June 2024, and when you look at the numbers, the picture gets even more disturbing. The numbers coming out of PHIVOLCS monitoring stations paint a terrifying picture of a volcanic system on the edge of catastrophic failure. Ash plume height, 4,000 meters above the summit crater. For reference, commercial aircraft cruise at around 10,000 meters. This plume reached well into the lower stratosphere, high enough to disrupt aviation across the entire region and spread fine volcanic ash over hundreds of square kilometers. Pyroclastic flow extent. Flows were observed descending the southern slopes, traveling multiple kilometers from the crater. The exact runout distance is still being assessed, but these flows moved through drainage channels and valleys, following the path of least resistance directly toward communities on the lower flanks. Seismic activity. In the weeks leading up to the November 28th eruption, PHIVOLCS recorded sustained volcanic earthquake swarms, sometimes dozens of tremors per day. These weren't tectonic earthquakes. These were volcano-tectonic quakes caused by magma fracturing rock as it rises toward the surface. Sulfur dioxide emissions. Gas monitoring detected elevated SO2 flux, a direct indicator that fresh magma was degassing at shallow depths beneath the summit. High sulfur dioxide readings are one of the most reliable precursors to explosive volcanic activity. Alert level escalation. Kanlaon had been maintained at alert level 2, moderate unrest, throughout early November 2025. The jump to alert level 3 represents a significant escalation. It means that magma is actively intruding toward the surface and that hazardous explosive eruptions are no longer a distant possibility. They're an immediate threat. And the official data doesn't capture what this means for the people living in the shadow of this threat. Negros Island is home to over 4 million people, and while the entire island isn't at direct risk, the communities closest to Mount Kanlaon, the towns and barangays within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone, are facing existential danger. La Castellana, Kanlaon City, Bago City. These aren't small isolated villages. These are municipalities with tens of thousands of residents, families who have lived in the shadow of Kanlaon for generations, farmers who depend on the fertile volcanic soil for sugarcane and rice cultivation, children who attend schools now converted into emergency evacuation centers. And when the eruption began on November 28th, those communities had no choice but to run. Mandatory evacuation orders went into effect immediately. Thousands of families, over 2,600 families representing approximately 8,500 people who were already displaced from earlier unrest, scrambled to gather essentials and flee to designated shelters. But that number is expected to surge dramatically as the full scope of the evacuation zone is enforced. The scenes are heartbreaking. Families loading belongings onto trucks, elderly residents struggling to evacuate on foot, parents wrapping wet cloths around children's faces to protect against toxic ash, entire neighborhoods abandoned, homes left unlocked, livestock tied up with just enough food and water to last a few days, because no one knows when it will be safe to return, or if there will be anything to return to. The ashfall alone is causing immediate problems. Roofs collapsing under the weight of accumulated ash, water supplies contaminated, respiratory distress spiking in local health clinics as residents breathe in fine volcanic particles. And the ashfall zone extends far beyond the 6-kilometer danger zone. Communities 20, 30, even 50 kilometers away are reporting measurable ash deposits. Infrastructure is under siege, schools closed, tourist destinations within the danger zone shuttered. Aviation authorities have issued warnings to avoid airspace near Kanlaon's summit due to hazardous ash clouds that can destroy aircraft engines. And for those hoping this will simply calm down, the experts have bad news. PHIVOLCS, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, isn't mincing words. Their official bulletins describe the current situation as magmatic unrest with an increased chance of hazardous explosive eruptions. That phrasing is deliberate. It's not possible eruptions. It's not, we're monitoring the situation. It's increased chance of hazardous explosive eruptions. The threat is active. The danger is real, and it could get worse. Director Teresito Bacolcol and the PHIVOLCS team are monitoring the volcano around the clock, every seismograph, every gas sensor, every tilt meter, measuring ground deformation, The data is being analyzed in real time, and the message to the public is unambiguous. Do not enter the permanent danger zone under any circumstances. The primary threat? Pyroclastic density currents. PHIVOLCS has observed these flows on Kanlaon's southern slopes, and they're emphasizing that these are among the most lethal volcanic hazards known to science. There is no outrunning them, no sheltering from them. If you're in their path, survival is not an option, but there's a secondary threat that has experts equally concerned: lahars. Heavy rainfall, like common in the Philippines, especially during monsoon season, can mobilize the massive volumes of loose volcanic ash and debris now blanketing Kanlaon slopes. The result is violent mudflows that can bury entire communities downstream. PHIVOLCS has issued specific lahar advisories for the Buhangin River system and other drainage channels, because what the data is showing now suggests something even more troubling. Mount Kanlaon didn't just wake up on November 28th. This eruption is the latest and most violent episode in a prolonged period of unrest that began in June 2024. The timeline is chilling. In June of last year, Kanlaon began showing signs of increased volcanic tremor and gas emissions. By December 2024, the volcano produced a significant eruption that displaced thousands and triggered the first major evacuation orders. Then, in April 2025, another explosive event sent ash plumes several kilometers high and forced renewed evacuations. For months, residents have been living in a state of constant vigilance, alert levels rising and falling. Evacuation orders issued, then lifted, then reissued. Families shuttling between their homes and emergency shelters, never knowing if the next bulletin will bring good news or a command to flee immediately. And the pattern is clear. Kanlaon is not calming down. It's escalating. Each eruption has been more intense than the last. Ash plumes are reaching higher altitudes. Pyroclastic flows are traveling farther. Seismic activity is becoming more frequent and energetic. The volcanic system is destabilizing, building toward something larger. Volcanologists describe this as a sustained eruptive phase. The magma chamber beneath Kanlaon is actively replenishing. Fresh magma is rising from depth, adding pressure to an already volatile system. And every eruption releases only a fraction of that accumulated energy. And history tells us exactly what patterns like this can lead to. The last time Mount Kanlaon killed was 1996. A sudden phreatic, steam-driven explosion without warning caught a group of climbers near the summit. 3 people died instantly, killed by the blast of superheated steam, ash, and rock fragments. Phreatic eruptions are among the most unpredictable volcanic events. They occur when groundwater comes into contact with hot volcanic rock, instantly flashing to steam and exploding with tremendous force. No magma is involved. No long-term warning signs, just sudden, catastrophic violence. Kanlaon has a documented history of these deadly surprises and the current magmatic unrest, with molten rock actively rising beneath the summit, makes the volcano even more dangerous, because now both phreatic and magmatic eruptions are possible. The system is primed. The conditions are ideal for explosive activity. The last time Kanlaon showed sustained unrest like this, people died. And right now, the same warning signs are flashing. As of November 28, 2025, Mount Kanlaon is officially at Alert Level 3 on the Philippines' 5-level volcano alert system. This is the second highest level, just one step below Alert Level 4, which indicates that a hazardous eruption is imminent or ongoing. Alert Level 3 means magmatic unrest. It means that monitoring data shows clear evidence of magma movement at shallow depths. It means that hazardous explosive eruptions are likely within days to weeks. And it means that the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone is strictly off-limits to all civilians. PHIVOLCS has established a comprehensive monitoring network around Kanlaon. Seismographs track every tremor. Tilt meters measure ground deformation down to the millimeter. Gas sensors continuously sample emissions from the summit crater. Thermal cameras detect changes in heat flux, and visual observers stationed at safe distances watch for any changes in eruptive activity. The government's response has been aggressive. President Marcos has directed a national task force to coordinate evacuations and relief operations. The Department of Social Welfare and Development has mobilized 2.7 billion Philippine pesos, approximately 47 million US dollars, in standby funds and emergency supplies. But the real question everyone is asking is simple and terrifying. Volcanology is not an exact science. PHIVOLCS can monitor every seismograph, analyze every gas sample, and measure every millimeter of ground deformation. But they cannot predict with certainty what Kanlaon will do next. The volcano will decide. And the possibilities range from gradual de-escalation to catastrophic explosive eruption. Best case scenario, Kanlaon's current eruption stabilizes, seismicity decreases, gas emissions drop. The magma intrusion stalls at depth and solidifies without further explosions. Alert levels are gradually reduced, evacuees return home. Life resumes. This is what everyone is hoping for, but PHIVOLCS is planning for worse, much worse. Scenario 2, sustained explosive activity. Repeated eruptions over days or weeks, each one sending pyroclastic flows down multiple flanks of the volcano. Ashfall expanding across Negros Island and potentially reaching neighboring islands. Prolonged evacuations, massive economic disruption, agriculture destroyed, tourism crippled. Scenario 3, a major Plinian eruption. The kind of catastrophic explosive event that generates ash columns reaching 20, 30, even 40 kilometers into the stratosphere. Pyroclastic flows extending 10 or more kilometers from the summit. Widespread devastation. Potential fatalities in the hundreds or thousands if evacuations are not complete. And then there are the lahars. If heavy rains hit while Kanlaon is actively erupting or in the weeks immediately after, the resulting mudflows could bury entire barangays downstream. PHIVOLCS has issued explicit warnings for communities along the Buhangin River and other drainage systems, and that uncertainty is exactly what makes this so dangerous. Mount Kanlaon is not finished. The November 28th eruption was not a climactic event that releases all accumulated pressure and returns the system to rest. It's an escalation. A warning. A demonstration of the forces building beneath that summit crater. 8,500 people remain displaced. Thousands more are on standby, ready to evacuate at a moment's notice if PHIVOLCS raises the alert level further. Emergency shelters across Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental are operating at capacity. Families are sleeping on gymnasium floors, in school classrooms, in community centers, with no idea when they'll be able to return home safely. Air quality across the region remains hazardous. Fine volcanic ash, particles small enough to penetrate deep into lung tissue, continues to settle across downwind communities. Respiratory clinics are overwhelmed. Residents are being advised to wear N95 masks or cover their faces with damp cloth whenever they go outside. And the volcano continues to rumble. PHIVOLCS monitoring stations are detecting ongoing seismicity. Sulfur dioxide emissions remain elevated. The magma is still there. Still active, still potentially building toward the next explosive release. The permanent danger zone remains evacuated. The alert level remains at 3, and the waiting continues. This is not over. Kanlaon is still active. Thousands are still displaced. And the next eruption could happen at any moment. If you have family in Negros Island, reach out, stay informed, follow PHIVOLCS updates, and never underestimate the power of an awakening volcano.